Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it's finally here. The workshop has finally been released alongside patch 1.1 and as expected the modders have been releasing their projects as soon as possible. So with today's video it might be a little bit smaller, but I want to go over some essential quality of life mods just to make Total War Warhammer 3 a little bit better. So let's not waste any more time and jump right in. All the mods can be found in the description below as usual, but the first mod is Toggle Chaos Realms by Drunk Flamingo. This is the same modder who saved us pre-access to Workshop, and now he's got it there with a simple subscribe and go. This is a great mod if you decide not to want to play with the narrative. All it does is simply just stops those mechanics from working, and it also works in multiplayer campaigns and is functional with loads of other mods too that will be featured on this video. If you just want to have the traditional Total War experience with no campaign narrative, this is the mod for you. I've been using it near constantly pre-Workshop, and now I'm going to be using it here too. The next is settlement capture pictures. So the Warhammer 3 factions don't have their own unique art when they occupy, colonize, loot and occupy, anything really, and it's very strange considering this is the third game in a rather lengthy series which has made a lot of money. Thankfully, great modders such as Girl, which I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing correctly, have created some really lovely art, and we can see it here. It's just really nice because now everything feels a bit more stylized. So if you're playing your faction, if you're playing Slaanesh, if you're playing Khorne, everything will look more like your race, and this is very important, especially for a immersion point of view. It's honestly very disappointing that Creative Assembly didn't do this, but once again, modders come to the rescue. The next is Victory Conditions Overhaul Realms of Chaos. This will also require a framework mod, which will also be linked below. What this does is it changes the victory conditions for all factions in-game, including the Ogre Kingdoms DLC. The idea is to give you a more chilled approach, but also kind of thematic for your race. So if we use Scarbrand, for example, you have 3 different routes to complete. This is for a small campaign victory, a large campaign victory, and a medium campaign victory. The first is Blood for the Blood God, which is achieve the highest corruption in a minimum of 50 regions. The next is Skulls for the Skull Throne, which is amass 20,000 skulls at the very least. And finally, Smash, which is destroy the factions, and you can see them listed here. The mod page itself will also have a link to all the different ones if you just want to read them before you download the mod, but this is just in case you don't want to do the Realms of Chaos stuff and you just want to have some fun in a more generalized Total War sense. This is a great mod by Wolfie and I really highly recommend it. Next we have a mod called UI Improvements by Adan Daith. Now this is just so needed, especially because the UI has been very strange when it comes to Creative Assembly in Game 3. So for example, as you can see here, the marker colors have been changed now when you're building, so if you're building now, green is when it's actually constructing, and red is when it's being deleted, unlike the other way, which is very confusing and makes no sense whatsoever. You've also got a little bit better readability when it comes to city banners. It's a lot better if, say, for example, you're hard of seeing and you need a bit more distinction. It's these little quality of life improvements which should be in the base game, but unfortunately aren't, but thankfully modders to the rescue as usual. Next, we have Unique Faction UI. It's a beta at the moment by Girl. I'm really sorry, mate, I keep getting your name wrong, and Drew West. So right now this mod only covers Khorne and Nurgle, but as you can see it gives them unique faction UI, and it's just so much better, especially since Nurgle has that green UI rather than the reddish brown one. Obviously Khorne has more of a reddish brown one because it makes sense, but the idea is to just give you a better visual, especially this. It's immersion. Green fits with Nurgle rather well. And again, this is something that we should have had in vanilla, especially for immersion purposes, but this just makes it so much nicer. I've been playing a little bit of Nurgle right now, and it's just great to have. The modding workshop came out yesterday. I barely slept, just because I've been playing around with so many different mods. But mods like this do make the game more immersive, that's for sure. Next is Return of the Great Empires, and there's really no picture to explain it, but essentially what it does is goes into some new tables. There's a new format known as Potential, which is what decides what player factions are aggressive or not. This is why you may notice that the vampire counts, Karl Franz, any other possible legendary lord in the game which is not playable at the moment is so passive and not really aggressive at all. So what this mod does is it just elevates the potential to be more in line with base game characters. So say for example, you see how Scarbrand, the Demon Prince, they move around and they conquer territories even when you're not playing as them. So now Karl Karl Franz will do the same. Karl Franz will get aggressive again. We'll have Deathmaster Snickich doing some more aggressive stuff. Tretch will try to expand too. It's quite good because it makes the game more immersive, and it gives you a feeling that other factions are going to be doing more damage. This will make it a bit tougher for, say, for example, if you decide to play as Skrarg because you're dealing with Karl Franz, and now Karl Franz is acting like proper faction rather than a dumbed down AI, and it just makes it a lot more fun to see a proper order tide, to see proper factions forming, to see the Skaven being more aggressive, Throt being more aggressive too, rather than just staying in Help It. This mod is by Soul Dairy Corporation and is highly recommended. Next is more character names lore friendly by Beans. So this adds in more names to your Lord recruitment pool, which might not sound too interesting, but considering that CA added very little names, you get a lot of repeats. How many times have you picked up a demon as Slanesh and they're all called Melchior for some reason? And yeah, this just adds in a lot. You can see there's a chart down here. It's absolutely fantastic because it adds it in for different races and factions. So you start getting some more variety, which is very important, especially for an immersion point of view. You can normally just change the names of your demons and so on, but if you just want it done automatically, you just want some new names here, it just is a lot better. Next is a minor mod by Drunk Flamingo, but very lore friendly for the ogres, which is Drunk Flamingo's Gnoblar snacks. Yep, you can eat the Gnoblars to get more food, which is something that actually happens in lore. Gnoblars are slaves, they're food, they're pretty much everything. So if you're running low on food, you can decide to munch on your Gnoblar units. So yeah, it's one of those mods which might not seem too interesting, but it's extremely lore friendly and it can be quite useful, especially as meat does become a problem every now and then. So it's going to be one of those must-haves if you're playing as ogres. Next is Building Progression Icons number 3. This is a very popular mod which has been in the previous iterations by Spartan6 and Rumraisin. Again, a minor mod but very immersive, as this just gives a little bit more of a look when you start constructing. You know, it's just changing the icons there. It might seem very small to people, but to people like me who like the immersion, it's one of those must-have mods. Next, we have the Better Camera mod. A popular mod from Warhammer 1 and 2 returns, and this is just a better camera in general. It allows for both closer and further camera heights. It's good for screenshots if you're trying to do more cinematic stuff, especially when you're trying to record and all that. It's not just for content creation if that's what you're thinking, it's just generally that good. I mean, it's already got 17,000 subscribers on the workshop, and it's only been out for less than a day at this point. It does make the game a lot better than the usual vanilla camera, that's for sure. And lastly, we have lore names renamed factions and new evolving names by Northern Bear and Massive Anorak. So this is more of an immersion-based mod, and as you can see there's an example here. As time progresses for your campaign, your faction name will start to change. So with Khorne, you've got the Exiles of Khorne, later on it'll become the Wrathful Reapers, next the Harbingers of Doom, and lastly the Exiled Hosts of Murder. It's just to give it a little bit more flavor, and this happens to all the factions there. It's just kind of cooler like that. It's not a needed mod, but it's definitely very immersive. And there you have it. These are the mods that I consider to be great quality of life changes that will really give you a little bit of extra spice to your Total War Warhammer campaigns. Now, as more mods come out, I will be looking to start covering more. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below. Contact me on Discord. I'm just really happy that modding is now back. I'm going to be streaming soon with some Slanesh changes too. Some unit ones. They're going to be cool. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.